What's up, guys? Super raw interview here today, but I'm here with Kelly, one of our students. Bro's been crushing it, but I'm gonna kind of hand it over to him. He's gonna introduce himself, and we'll go from there.
Yo, my name Kelly, trader. Met Yash through a mutual friend. Just was interested in knowing what he does, and now we're here.
Yeah, awesome, man. Yeah, but Kelly's been great, man. We initially kind of met, and he was talking about how he's going through some psychological struggles in trading. Initially, he was trading a little bit more ICT, and I'll let him talk more about that. But you guys know if you've kind of watched my stuff before, how adamant I am about how everyone has issues with psychology sooner or later in their trading. But it's really about how do we solve that. Everyone's always talking about you know psychology is the most important. But we all know that. Everyone knows if you have greed or if you're tilted, you're going to trade bad. But what it's really about is how we solve that. So, Kelly obviously, has done really well in kind of solving that for himself. So I'm going to let him talk a little bit about his journey. Obviously, he's going to touch a little bit on the fact of how he used to trade ICT and stuff and how his overall journey's been. But a lot of small things add up, guys, and those factors are what we can control in order to kind of fix our psychology. So I'll hand it over to you, Kelly, man.
Yeah, yeah. So I actually started trading probably around like mid 2023. I was just curious. I didn't like the job I was at, and I was just figuring out like, what's some ways to actually, make money for yourself without, clocking in. So I found a guy actually I went to high school with. I saw that he was just posting like 30K withdrawals, 50K withdrawals, and I'm like, what? I'm just curious. I'm like, yo, what do you do? And then he introduced me to day trading, and then that's where my journey started. So I didn't start off. I didn't know who ICT was. I didn't know about none of that. I didn't know. I didn't know anything about that. So I started off one way, and then down the line, I think every trader has that canon event
Yeah.
where they flip flop, they try out this, they try out that, and then they get on TikTok, and it's a wraps from there because everybody's a guru. So um, I started to kind of branch off into ICT, into scalping, micro scalping, and long story short, I didn't really make much progress from it. I didn't. It wasn't me. Um, I think I probably got like one payout for like $500, but I was copied. I was watching someone else trade, so like, I don't even really count that. But yeah, so I was down the rabbit hole pretty deep. ICT, fair value gaps, inverse fair gap, whatever you've learned or what you know about ICT, I probably tried it. So I was getting tired of the whole scalping in queue, and I never one mistake I made was not sticking with what was already working for me. So um, I was flipping around, I was flip flopping, and then one day I found Yash through a mutual friend in a Discord server. I saw he posted this video uh, making 100K off of a prop, and I was like, whoa! I was like, who is this? I was like, who's this guy? So I hit him up. I was just curious. I was like, yo, man, like, do you got a server? Like, what's up? And then that's how we initially met. So I just, I applied, and then we just started working together. And even in working together for a little bit, I still was doing the same ICT stuff that I was doing. And he was trying so hard to kind of like, yo, like that probably isn't the best. But I was so hard stuck on like, no, I gotta scalp, I gotta trade in queue. Everyone's trading in queue, right? So, and then one day I just kind of hit a crossroads, and I was just like, okay, like what I need to change something because like I'm not even liking how I'm trading. I'm not making any progress. So then Yash kind of broke me out of that scalper, NQ ICT mindset. And I'm not knocking it. If it works for you,
Right, right.
sure, but it wasn't working for me. So after some time, he helped me kind of get back into the rhythm of what I already knew. And since then, I've made a lot of good progress, and I've really found what like is comfortable for me. So, Yash is definitely he's helped me in a big area of just getting back on track and really trading, really trading for, how I should be.
Definitely, man. I appreciate that. And like, I think one of the biggest things people talk about a lot is like especially nowadays, and I'm only using ICT's example because it's the most popular thing. Because obviously, other things I might mention people might not know of. But one of the most popular phrases right now, especially this year, last year, is "What model do you trade?" Or like, "What's your model? What's your entry model?" And for me, what it is, even when people ask me like, "What's your strategy for trading?" I'm like, guys, I don't have a like. I might have a strategy as like a blueprint you might learn from, but a lot of people like instantly like, okay, if you don't have a model, I don't know if I can learn from you. And the thing is, models are inherently mechanical, meaning that anything that's mechanical has bounds for failure. Meaning a lot of times when it might not work, you're going to be like, shoot, well, what do I do here? And that's the main inherent issue with having a completely mechanical approach is that when it's not working, you don't know what to do. And a lot of times what happens is people just tell themselves, well, I have an 80% win rate on this mechanical model. It's bound to fail 20% of the time. But what I urge people to kind of look at is sure, you're going to have some bad luck every once in a while in a trade. Maybe some news event happens mid trade. But generally speaking, 90% of your losses are gonna have something that you did wrong. Whether that's you sized too much to where you hit liquidation on your prop account before the trade could pan out, or maybe you just took a FOMO entry or too early of entry, but you have to make sure you're actually applying some reasoning to why something's happening rather than just A equals B. And for me personally with Kelly, I could instantly notice that, he knows his stuff, but it's really important to kind of get someone back on track. And everyone's so focused on learning people's models and stuff like that. For me, that was never the approach with anybody I kind of work with. In, Kelly's case, like he was talking about, and I actually had them all fill out a complete application form. It wasn't just like a, okay, spin the wheel giveaway because I wanted to choose someone who I look at their application, I can tell they're going to put in the work. And Kelly just had a really kind of compelling application. Like he gave me a reason to want to work with him. I saw the potential there and I could tell that, if I give this guy the time, he's going to respect what I'm telling him sooner or later. Everyone's a little stubborn to start. That's
Yeah,
normal,
yeah, yeah,
but I'm also not very pushy. Like what I tend to not do is if you're stubborn with something, but you're kind of making a little bit of money from it, I'm not gonna kind of push you away too much from that because in the case you lose because of me making you change something, it's gonna become resentment. So what I normally wait for is make money from it, cool. But as soon as you have some sort of failure, boom, that's when I'm gonna show you like, okay, this is what we need to do. Because then the resentment's gone. Then it's just about, okay, how do we fix this? Because the last thing you want or anyone wants is a coach they hate. You can have a coach who's strict, who you respect, but you don't want a coach you hate. If he changes your shot, like a broken jump shot that was working at a 50% free throw percentage, and then now you're at 30%, he's going to hate you. But if you're at 50% and you go to 30% and all of a sudden it becomes like 80%, they're going to like you. So sometimes it's important to kind of wait for that failure in order to kind of show someone, okay, you know what? This is the small stuff we can tweak and it's going to make that difference. And for Kelly, it was actually a super unique path. So one of the, key issues was there was a lot of NQ scalping going on. And for those of you guys who might know me, I'm not completely against scalping, but the thing with scalping is you can often win even if you're wrong. And for someone who's kind of, getting into that phase of profitability, who's trying to learn, it's really important to kind of stray away from something that can kind of give you false data because I work a lot off of data, right? So for Kelly, it was a super unique path. He initially, was trading a lot of gold. He went back to gold, and a lot of people when they trade gold, it has a lot of big swings. It has a good range to it. So inherently, you get used to trading more than scalping. And for me, I was like, you know what? I don't care if he doesn't trade ES because I'm a full-time ES trader. And that's the cool part about not having a model. It's that even if Kelly trades gold, I can look at his trades. I can give him feedback because end of the day, it's the overall understanding of how the market moves. And for me, I was happy about the fact that, hey, this guy's not scalping anymore. I'm happy because now we can put the real work in. And since then, it's been much smoother sailing. So I'll hand it back to him. But it's just really cool to see these small changes that kind of make a big difference in your overall picture.
Two things that I kind of wanted to bring up is like one thing I've noticed, like Yash isn't necessarily going to like hold your hand like a child if you don't want that.
Right.
So yeah, so one thing is that like he'll be like, hey, like, recommend this or do that, but it's like it's kind of in your court to do so. And I noticed that, especially with even other people in the server, it's like, you can tell them something or tell them another thing, but like at least with me, I kind of had to. I've always kind of been like that, independent driven, but also accepting guidance, like, where I see fit in it. And he definitely was like, okay, you give me suggestions and it would help me. And, but he wasn't like holding my hands and like breathing down my neck about it. So that definitely helped me also take a step back and really examine, okay, like also what are my issues that I'm thinking of for myself. And it definitely helped. And another thing is that journal. I think the best part is the server is the journals, because it's literally like a hub of everything that I do day to day. And I'm not just doing it because he's necessarily telling me to, but I'm seeing the value in being able to see tens, hundreds of trades that I've taken and I can just have in one spot. And it definitely is great for learning and really knowing what you're doing each day. So I love my journal. I type in it every day if I take a trade. It's almost like it became habit. It doesn't even really feel like a chore. It's more so like I want to know what I'm doing right and what I could have missed or what I could have done better. And I was always against journaling. I was, because I just, who wants to journal, right? So
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, like you think about it, like people like like when you think of journaling, especially when you're not doing it, especially for training, you just think it's some like a high school teenage girl just talking about her feelings in a little
yeah,
notebook, and
yeah,
I was that shit's cringe. Like, why would you do that shit? And then you start doing it, and you're like, holy shit, especially when you take it right after your trade, you're like,
yeah,
damn, I would not have seen that 4 hours later because 4 hours later you're going to give it a complete different reasoning. You're going to be like, well, this trade was perfect because of this. But the important stuff is what were you thinking when you took that trade? Because that's what's going to
yeah,
actually reflect the next time you take it.
yep,
But
yep,
like Kelly's saying, like for me, like I'm that person where we're all adults. Most people trading are going to be
yep,
over 18 years old. Obviously, I
yep,
work with some people younger, but we make sure that everyone agrees with it, parents agree with it, all that stuff. But we're all adults. The point here isn't to kind of make someone feel like they're my kid, because again, the last thing I want is for someone to feel like I'm making their life hell. That's not the goal. The goal here is to make sure that you kind of become more profitable, you get into a better spot. So all I ask of people when they're working with me is just do your part. When you're taking your trades, journal them, because my main strength isn't telling you, how to draw support, how to draw resistance. There's a million people who can do that. But my strength comes in the fact of, I'm really good at analyzing the data, and I can really quickly tell you what issue you're facing because of the number of people I've worked with. You see the same issue, 30, 40 times, you can pick it up a lot quicker with someone instantly. So for me,
mhm,
what it is, Kelly's super diligent with his journals. Whether he takes a loss or a win, every single trade's actually in there. So given any period of time during a month or a week, I can mentally keep track of where he's sitting at. And that's genuinely the main difference between someone who's succeeding and someone who isn't. Like, you guys can ask Kelly, but it's really easy to tell who's performing well on the server and who isn't, because it's a very clear one to one. If you're doing your journals, you're generally performing better. And if you're not doing your journals, you're either a millionaire already and you've left the Discord, or you're probably not performing well. So it's a one to one, because when you do stuff like that and you kind of pencil stuff out, it has a huge impact on your trading. But I'm gonna ask you, Kelly, a little bit. We've talked about the psychological stuff. For you, there was a couple small things. What would you say those kind of small things recently were, or not even recently, but just through the journey were, that kind of made that shift?
psychologically wise,
Yeah.
um, um, patience and comparison. So when I would see my like losing trades, or if I would see something that like I'm like, okay, that was just stupid, it always boiled down to patience. And I realized after taking some back to back winning trades is that patience truly pays, right? And the comparison aspect of like even when I so like when if I'm on TikTok, I don't scroll for long. I've rewired my algorithm because I don't even really see trading content, right? I see other things that I'm interested in because everyone is posting their, Lambo, their high rise, Miami, all that stuff, right? And I slowly realized like the more that I take bad trades, the more that I rush into a trade, the more that I'm sure everyone has probably took it just like a fucking trade, just
Right.
like okay, I'm gonna just take this because it looks. Once I've cut that out because it's garbage. Once I cut that out of everything in my mind, and I realized that if I take this loss of just me being ignorant, this is a step further away of me getting to the next step. And I realized that you can do that, especially last year when I really was like struggling. You can do that for a full year and you're literally in the same spot than where you were in January.
Right.
So once I really sat down and said, okay, each day is a new day, but it's also a day to perform. And if I do something stupid on Monday, I might not make that back or make up for it until Thursday. Then tomorrow's Friday, which is only one more day to trade. Now I have to wait a whole weekend, which is another week. Now we only have 2 weeks left in the month. This is how I'm thinking. This is
Right.
how I'm working through my trading journey is that it's a time limit. We only have so many days to trade, right? And we only have so much time in a year. So if I'm doing stupid, ignorant things on Monday, I might only have until Thursday to really like get back on track. So I stopped comparing myself. I stopped looking at what other people have and what they've made. Of course, being like I congratulate if it's
Right.
someone I like with your new Porsche, like congratulations on that. That's insane, right? But I'm not internalizing that as like okay, I'm behind because I don't have X, Y, and Z. And I think that is also a trader's mindset as well
Hmm.
when getting into new like milestones is that you got to go at your own pace. So definitely patience, like all of that really changed how I, saw trading. Even days, some days I had to say, no, I have to take a trade a day, right? But even it was like 2 days last week where nothing was to be taken, right? So I just kind of just, closed out, locked out my account, and then just went on about my day. So it definitely maturing in those aspects psychologically has helped a lot. And I just want to keep that pace up.
Definitely,
Yeah.
man. 100%. I love that. And like, I think there's this thing I say and I tell people it's like, because people are always talking about how, I think I was talking to someone yesterday on the phone right now. He's like, he actually called me and he was super hell bent on kind of learning the trade with me and stuff like that. But he was telling me the reason he wanted to do it was because he's not getting enough trading opportunities with the way he currently trades. And
Mhm.
obviously, like complete honesty, here, transparency. It's in my best favor to be like, you know what, come trade with me, and we'll print every
Yeah.
single day. But what I told him is
Yeah.
like, if that's the reason you want to work with me and kind of ditch what you're currently doing, don't do it. And I have no reason to say that. He's gonna pay me money or whatever for me to teach him. And what I told him is like, one thing people forget about trading, it's not just how much can I make per day, how much can I make per week or month. It's how much can I not lose on a Monday, a Tuesday, or this week. And that's what I asked him. I'm like, bro, the last 2 weeks you haven't had a trade. Cool. Did you lose any money? He's like, no, I didn't. And I'm like, okay, so before you spend another month with your thing, and when you come back to me, give me a genuine reason why you want to learn another way to trade. Because I'm not trying to take something that you have that's working, completely destroy it, even if I think my thing's better. It's not about that. It's about the fact of if you have a reason to change something, change it. But if your reason is that I'm not taking enough trades, that's not the reason. Because you look at any of the biggest traders, you guys look at any of my biggest months, my 120K month or whatever with the prop firm. I think I had like 7 or 8 days of trading that month. That's like nothing, bro. That's like 1 or 2 weeks, a week and a half of trading tops. So the really important thing to look at is in trading, it's less is more, and it's a game of capital preservation. You can always trade the next day and take another win. But you can't take a win or a trade if you don't have any money left in the account. So the number
Yeah.
one goal is to make sure you have the money there. But speaking of money, I know we talked about this before, but have you ever had that thing where you see a kind of glimpse of success from trading, and you're kind of ready to drop everything else, and you're trying to go all into trading? Because I see all the time. For me personally, I saw a lot of people drop out of college, not go to college. I finished my 4 years, so I can go work or whatever if I really want to. But I always thought of it as trading isn't one of those things where you have to quit everything else to do it. A lot of people fall under that impression where they're like, I don't know if I can trade with you because I'm working full time, or I'm working a couple hours a day. I don't know if I can give it the time. So what are your thoughts on people kind of just dropping everything for trading when they see a little bit of success?
Yeah, that is a canon event for every trader. I don't care. Every trader has had, so like 2023 when I made my first $1,000 and I was still working the job that I hated. That was literally the first thing that I said once I once I banked 1,000. I was like, oh yeah, I'm done. I was like, I'm quitting next week and I'm going all in. But what people don't realize is that like trading is not linear, right? Especially the market. Trading aside, the market is not linear,
Right.
right? So when you're first starting out, you have to really detach yourself from that mindset, and you have to, like, I guess, build the consistency before you even think about doing anything like that. Because I trust me, trading for food or like trading to keep the lights on, like, that's not it, right? Thankfully I was never in like no dire situation like that, but I did have that mindset, and I had to get out of that mindset because I was attaching trading to money and not necessarily trading to like because I actually like trading. And going through that year really made me examine, why am I trading? Am I trading because I'm seeing other people post on the internet, or am I trading because this is a genuine hobby that I really really like to do? And once I kind of got to the root of it, it was I'm trading because I really actually like to trade, right? And I always tell people, especially family members, like, okay, like, don't get into this because it's money attached to it. You could, in that case, you might as well go to law school or become a doctor. They
Right.
make a lot of money. Right? So I mean, I even had a guy, I had a guy DM me, and he was like, yo, man, like, I'm working 2 jobs. This would be crazy. Like, I might quit both of these if I learn how to. I said, bro, calm down. Like, seriously, like, slow down. I wouldn't even tell you to do that. Don't do that, right? So yeah, definitely that is not a good mindset to have if you're getting into trading. Is like, okay, I'm about to just get in this and just like make a bunch of, like, no. You gotta attach the process to trading more so like just the money. Because if you're just doing something for money, you could do literally anything in the world that makes a lot of money. Like,
Exactly. Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know.
definitely. They're just saying like to be an entrepreneur, to be in business, there has to be a little bit something wrong with you, right? Because
Oh
like
yeah,
who,
absolutely.
because who's gonna get into something which has a higher rate of failure than a job,
Yeah,
higher kind of stress levels, and then
yep,
with the opportunity to make infinite money, of course, but there has to be something slightly wrong with you. So when you find
mm,
something like trading, where you kind of get the benefit of that, pretty much no ceiling to how much you can make, but
yeah,
it doesn't force you to kind of quit what you're doing, you know, don't quit the other thing. Even now, I mean, I think you've seen people in the server, you've seen kind of, Joe, Josh, Sagar, they all kind of work full-time jobs, and
yeah,
they're still trading, and there's some of the most active people unironically in the server are like people who are working full time, because trading, once you kind of get a little bit of rhythm to it, not like a model or anything like that, but once you get a rhythm to it where you look at a chart and you're like, okay, I've seen this before. Once you get to that point, you know, it's no longer a game of how many hours do I have per day to trade. Like I
mm,
recently graduated like last December, so I was trading with school while kind of mentoring people, while running the server and stuff like that, and while doing kind of minor stuff here and there. And a lot of people I was talking to, they were like, "Bro, once you graduate, you're gonna be swimming in it because like you're gonna be making so much more money because you're gonna have so much more time to trade." Obviously, this was people who don't trade, but what I told them is
yeah,
this is where people fail, and this is why I've had this talk with a lot of people I know, students who are kind of pivoting slowly into that full time because they're getting to that point where it makes sense. And I'm like, if you don't have to do it or don't need to do it, don't do it. Because the first thing that happens to people when they start doing these full time trading stuff is they start taking more trades because they're like, okay, now I have double the time. I'm gonna make double the money. And what it
No.
really is like you have double the time, so you have double the free time. Think of it that way. Because
Yeah.
end of the day, the pure reason to actually trade is the time freedom. Everything else can be bought. Like I know tons of people with W-2 incomes who are making well over 500K a year, right? That's
Mm.
crazy. That's 500K guaranteed per year, no risk on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
Why do some of them hate it? Because they don't have the time freedom. That's the
Yep.
main difference it really comes down to. Trading has
Yeah.
more stress, it's more complex, it has a higher skill floor. In order to be a profitable trader, it takes more than
Yeah.
to make money on an entry level job. So it takes more skill set on the bare minimum. So what it really comes down to is, are you going to leverage that time freedom? And that's what it really
Yeah.
comes down to. And you look at any of the best traders in the space, pick any name, every single one of them does something more than just trading. Whether that be taking their time to mentor people or starting another business or doing real estate, every single one of them does something extra because you have the time. That's why you did it in the first place. So
Yeah, I actually, and to say that, that's literally that's what I might. So I did it totally backwards, right? So last year I was actually unprofitable full time trading. That is not it. That's not cool. That's not it. I would not recommend that to nobody at all. I was unprofitable full time trading, and that was just, it was very stressful, and it had me feeling like I have to trade. And like we spoke before, like I said, with being a little more mature, right, and understanding that, I said to myself, I'm like, okay, before I even ever, right, consider doing that again, I need to have some good liquid, like cash,
right.
like from trading. Two, I need to be on point, super pinpoint everything about myself first, how I trade, right? And like I always, and I didn't see, I realized that trading is really like the investment into other things, the time, for example. And that's really why I realized, like, one of my passions for wanting to trade too, it really, money's like probably third, fourth on that, but it's like helping my family, freedom, the freedom, of course, right? And, a couple other things. But, um, I just really kind of took away the money aspect and saw it as like, okay, I want to use this as an avenue. So then I can, if I ever, then I want to make that leap back into, right, being, I don't even really like to say full-time trader, but just the entrepreneur,
Yeah.
right? Full-time trader is just like, it just sounds cringy, but like an entrepreneur. And that's really where my like passion lies in this whole journey and this whole process. It's just like, okay, I've shown I'm consistent. I've made X amount. Now it's time to put that into other avenues, right? To where, you know, I can probably take 2 trades a month, like the big guys do, like, because they just have so much, capital.
Yeah,
But uh,
exactly. Yeah. 100%.
that's where I'm at. And it started again. I think every trader starts off with just like, oh, I'm gonna buy this. I'm gonna make X amount trading. I'm gonna buy this car. But it's like, no, it really is truly like a professional avenue to take your money and like really branch out and have that freedom and be able to, do whatever you want to do with it. So yeah,
Definitely, man. No, that's 100% spot on, dude. Like, yeah, I mean,
mm,
the goal is to have that 100K position, take one trade a month, and just go do whatever you want to do. That'll be dope. I have a really interesting journey myself because I started trading a little bit before COVID during high school, got more
yeah,
into it during COVID. And then in college, I kind of had that shift to going full time into it, but not really full time because like what does full time in college even mean? Like you're a student, right? So
yeah,
I never had anyone to tell me better. Like generally, I just didn't. I was just doing it. Obviously, I had a family, but like at the end of the day, they don't have trading experience, so they just see what's there at face value. If I'm doing good, I'm doing good. If I'm doing bad, I'm doing bad. But it was really mentally tolling. I was doing
yeah,
initially a computer engineering degree. Shit's hard. I was playing sports the whole time. I was going to classes. I was like an A student. and I was running this Discord and stuff. I was trading, and even if I was succeeding, it was so mentally tolling. You know, I'm a 17, 18-year old who just got into college, and I have all of this on top of my shoulders right now. And all I know is this is it. We got to make this work. That's what I'm thinking. You know, I'm doing a degree that definitely I can get a job later that pays well, but all I can think of is I have to make this work. And
Hmm.
sometimes, yes, there is a benefit to having your back against the wall, but end of the day, if I could go back and I had someone to tell me like, "Yo, you can do that without that being the sole thing you have to do."
Yeah,
Because all
yeah,
I was fed is like I hear people say full-time trader, full-time trader, full-time trader. So that's all I knew to be real. You know, I didn't know there was anything else to it. So
yeah,
I had to just live and learn. And, now that I'm graduated, obviously I know better because, I see people working and stuff. And even now, like, hey, I tell people all the time, like, I have the time. Like, I'm teaching people, I go to the gym every single day, I'm trading, I'm doing all this stuff, I'm making content, I do all of it myself. And I can still do something else if I want to. If something comes along the way that makes sense and is worth the time, sure, I'll do it. And I think that's really the beauty of trading and getting to that point. But I think Kelly kind of summed it up really well here. It genuinely takes a couple small shifts to go from, unprofitable or a difficult situation to, profitable and just being consistent. So, I mean, it was really great for you to kind of break down, everything pretty much here. But any kind of last kind of thoughts and just your overall experience, how it's been?
um last thoughts, I guess. Like I'm happy with just my shift in mindset, going into the market every day, knowing what I'm looking for, knowing what I'm doing. And but I really value the like my psychology when just looking at the market now, when analyzing what I'm doing, really evaluate a little more over than clicking buy or sell, to be honest, because I think that's what truly, I think personally, I think that's what makes a trader, is like that mindset, more so than who can press buy or sell the best. But going in saying like, okay, this is what I want to see, and it's okay if it doesn't. Like if the market sucks today, like on Wednesday, I believe it was terrible, so I just got off. And but last year me, or beginner me, would have forced something, right? So being able to see the baby steps really come out into fruition, to set, to you really see that progress. I love it. I love to see that. So I've just been, grateful for the help, for the community, the support, and just want to keep working, keep going forward.
Definitely, man. Yeah. I mean, the next goal is that when we scale through those 10, 20K months, there's no stop to it. Every
Yeah,
milestone, the fun thing about trading, it's like a video game. You complete one
yeah,
level, and the next level, you tweak a couple of things to get to the next level. No matter how
yeah.
much you're making or how good you're at it, there's always a couple small things here and there that you can tweak. And I'm kind of happy that, Kelly was the one that I chose to work with because it's really good to see going in that I work with someone who was, super responsive, super kind of, dialed in, and actually kind of willing to input the feedback into his trades and kind of see it work over time. So it's really great having you, Kelly. We're gonna, keep kind of crushing it, but let's see where
Yeah.
we are a year from now, and probably we'll be like 10x from here.
Prayerfully, bad. Yeah. Thank you, bro. Yeah.
Awesome, guys. And at all, if you guys are interested in trading with us, it's going to be below. If you want to work with me, it's going to be below. But yeah, we're just going to keep trading every single day, printing on golden ES, and no more scalps for us. All right. See
No
you
more.
guys.
Thank you.